Breaking news, a federal judge in Washington, D.C. has just blocked the Office and Management Budget's effort to block all federal spending. Welcome back to Democracy Docket. I'm Marc Elias.
And I'm Paige Moskowitz. Let's get started.
All right, Paige, this is truly breaking news as we speak. A federal district court judge in the District of Columbia has blocked Donald Trump's effort to seize control of all federal spending. Recall, he tried to stop federal agencies from putting out more money under federal contracts and the like. A federal judge heard an emergency motion earlier today by a group of nonprofit organizations, with Democracy Forward, the nonprofit law firm, leading the way. A federal judge has blocked that until at least Monday, when that judge will hold oral arguments on whether that should be the permanent state of affairs going forward.
On Monday night, Trump's Office of Management and Budget, or OMB, issued a memo saying, quote, federal agencies must temporarily pause all activities related to the obligation or disbursement of all federal financial assistance, including but not limited to financial assistance for foreign aid, non-governmental organizations, DEI, woke gender ideology, and the Green New Deal. Now, all day we have seen reports from Medicaid offices who said that their portals are down. Head Start funded preschools and daycare said that they may need to shut down, as well as various nonprofit groups said that they may need to cease operations if federal funding ceased.
Yeah, and look, Paige, the mayhem was the point here, right? I mean, it is not like OMB didn't know that when it issued this broad sweeping order, that it was not going to tackle whatever woke ideology or whatever nonsense that they put in their release. It was going to tackle Head Start. It was going to disrupt Medicaid, literally the ability of poor people to get the medical care that they deserve, but also the medical care that is in federal law that Congress has insisted that they get. This was a overreach power grab by the new Trump administration, and we are seeing over and over again now, Paige, something that you and I have talked a lot about, which is the Republicans in Congress have no backbone. The Republican Party doesn't exist other than as a feature of Donald Trump, like a little ornament that he hangs on a tree. But the courts continue to be the last guardrail to protect democracy. And first, we saw a federal judge block the birthright citizenship order. Now we have seen, at least on a temporary basis, the blocking of this order. So the courts are doing their jobs, but Paige, the fight is not over.
Right, Mark, this is a temporary stay. Now, today's lawsuit, as you mentioned, was filed by Democracy Forward on behalf of their clients, the National Council of Nonprofits, the American Public Health Association, the Main Street Alliance, and SAGE, which is an LGBTQ advocacy group. The lawsuit says that the memo violates the Constitution and the Administrative Procedure Act. Now, this lawsuit was filed to a Biden-appointed judge, as you said, in the D.C. District Court. 23 Democratic attorneys general also filed their own lawsuit alleging the same violations. That lawsuit will play out as well.
Yeah, and look, I think it is appropriate in this era, unfortunately, to identify who appointed the judge, right? Who nominated the judge? And you're right, this was a Biden appointee. But this was actually not a hard question for the judge. Like, I'd like to think that any federal judge would have issued a stay in this case for two reasons. The first is that, as I said, this order was intended to create mayhem, and it was creating mayhem. And it is the job of the federal courts to stop mayhem while a case is being decided, right? So just as a pure, like, legalistic matter, the prejudice to the American people in allowing this to be in place while this case got adjudicated would be dramatic. Whereas for Donald Trump, it's just another week in which the law is being followed. So the balance of equities, as they say, certainly favored the plaintiffs here. But so did the merits. So did the law, right? Congress enacted a law in the early 70s to stop exactly this, to stop Richard Nixon's practice of not dispersing funds that Congress had appropriated. The Constitution gives Congress, not the executive branch, but Congress, the power to appropriate funds and to pass laws. And there are laws that have been passed here appropriating funds, and it is not up to Donald Trump or OMB to simply decide that they are not going to distribute the funds that Congress has already said have to be distributed. So this is a big win for rule of law. It is a big win for obviously the victims of this this effort, which, as you point out, include veterans groups, include people who are depend on these federal programs. But it was also a big loss, not only for Donald Trump, but also for the government lawyers. I mean, I got to tell you, I understand that the government lawyers are government lawyers, right? They don't get to pick their client. But boy, this is now the second time that we have seen, government lawyers working for the Department of Justice walk into a federal court and literally just have their head handed to them because the position they were being asked to defend was simply indefensible. Now, look, I don't have a way out of this for the government lawyers. Like, on the one hand, you don't want the good government lawyers to leave and be forced out because they're refusing to defend. Like, I get all of that, but there is something that is going to have to be dealt with here, which is that the Department of Justice, which, historically is very measured, is very careful in their legal analysis, they have started off with the Trump administration 0 for 2, and they have been 2 big, indefensible cases that they have lost before federal judges that can't believe what's being brought before them.
Right, Mark, we saw that last week in Washington, where a Reagan-appointed judge called Trump's executive order to revoke birthright citizenship for some people born in the United States, quote, blatantly unconstitutional. The judge there couldn't believe that the case was before him. And this whole OMB memo is a key component of Project 2025. Now, Russ Vought, who was the OMB director at the end of Trump's first term, is also his pick to lead the OMB in his second term. Vought authored a chapter of Project 2025 that outlined how the president could seize power and enforce his own policies by withholding funds and taking the power of the purse away from Congress.
Paige, everything that Democracy Docket reported on about Project 2025 turned out to be true. And I hope, by the way, everyone is subscribed to Democracy Docket because they were on top of Project 2025 before the legacy media. But this is just another example of something lifted from Project 2025. And, the legacy media's response is, oh, well, he said he was going to do these things. Well, I mean, that's true and not true. On the one hand, yes, Donald Trump said he was going to do these things. On the other hand, he said he didn't read Project 2025 and he didn't agree with it. So in many respects, you're seeing a lot of apologizing going on in the mainstream media for the indefensible actions that are being taken here. And, this is just another good time to remind everyone the importance to subscribe to Democracy Docket and to follow it for breaking news like this by also making sure you're following it on YouTube. Thanks, everyone, for watching this episode. We'll see you next time.